Hello, everyone. So, welcome to another session of current updates with me and Ananya. And it's 9 p.m. again. So, we are back with one new episode of current updates. We hope you guys have already watched our previous episodes. So, please do look up our previous sessions of current updates. And today, again, we are back with a new topic. So, Ananya, would you like to tell them what is our new topic for today?
Where is my favorite topic? It is science fiction. So I'm really
Okay, yes.
excited for today's sessions.
All right, yes. Science fiction is indeed quite an interesting area to read about, to know more about. So, without further ado, let's get started. I will start with my screen sharing. All right. Okay, I hope the screen is visible to all of you. Okay, so let's get started. So, current updates, and today's topic is science fiction. So, first, let's try to know, or let's try to understand, what do we mean by science fiction? What is this fiction all about? What does it entail? What does it talk about? What are the issues this science fiction deals with? Right? Okay. So let's first get quite a rough definition to understand what is science fiction. A science fiction story, it's a narrative set in an alternative or altered reality. Many science fiction stories describe experiences beyond the confines of normal human experience, such as space exploration or time travel. Others imagine the familiar human world transformed by new technology, ecological change, or even alien invasions, as we have already seen in many sci fi movies. Some sci fi stories are concerned with utopia and utopian visions, while others are dystopian or apocalyptic. Science fiction often provides straightforward escapism, like, a very interesting route of escapism from the mundane world, but equally imagines scenarios which provoke serious questions about what it is to be human. Because, as we have already mentioned, science fiction talks about ventures, or it talks about experiences which are beyond human. So it talks about experiences which are beyond normal human experience or ideas. So this fiction often also provokes the idea of what it is to be human, because only when we understand what it means to be human, then only we can try to understand what is it meant, or what can we understand of being beyond human. The nature of reality, perception, and power. Because science fiction often goes into a direct clash with reality, because it seems to us more like fantasy, right? Concepts such as atomic energy, cyberspace, and robotics were all first conceived in science fiction stories. So let's get to know more about this topic. The term science fiction was first used, it seems, in 1851, the year of the Great Exhibition, in William Wilson's A Little Earnest Book Upon a Great Old Subject. So the term science fiction was first used in this book, A Little Earnest Book Upon a Great Old Subject by William Wilson. And now we will look at some major science fiction writers and their works. All right. So I hope you guys liked that introduction. And now, based on this introduction, we will try to look at some major sci-fi writers and their works. Okay. So Ananya, will you please read the first question?
An early forerunner of science fiction, The Blazing World by Dash is an extraordinary Welchian fantasy during which the Duchess advanced the then improbable idea that mankind might be ruled by non-human animal intelligence. And the options are Afra Ben, Eliza Haywood, Margaret Cavendish, or Delaware Manley.
All right. So here we are with a work which is considered to be an early forerunner of science fiction, Which work is it? The Blazing World. It is an extraordinary Welsh fantasy. It's a fantasy during which the Duchess advanced the then improbable idea that mankind might be ruled by a non-human animal intelligence. So who is the writer here who wrote this work and talked about this idea of mankind getting ruled by non-human animal intelligence? This writer was very famous during the 17th century. So, any guesses who is the writer of The Blazing World? An early forerunner of
Is it
science fiction?
Margaret Cavendish?
Yes, indeed. Correct. Anitesh has also said it is very right. It is indeed Margaret Cavendish who wrote this work. And let's look at the book cover here. What is the full title of this work? The description of a new world called The Blazing World. Okay, so this work is considered to be an early forerunner of science fiction. This work was written during the 17th century. All right. Okay, so now we will look at Margaret Cavendish. So who was Margaret Cavendish? We have looked at her picture in the previous slide. So Margaret Cavendish was an English philosopher, poet, scientist, fiction writer, and playwright. In her lifetime, she produced more than 12 original literary works, many of which became well known due to her high social status. The Blazing World, the work we are talking about here, it's a 1666 work of prose fiction by the English writer Margaret Cavendish. And Margaret Cavendish was the Duchess of Newcastle. Feminist critic Del Spender calls this work a forerunner of science fiction. It can also be read as a utopian work. Blazing World is a fanciful depiction of a satirical utopian kingdom in another world that can be reached via the North Pole. According to novelist Stephen H. Prop, it is the only known work of utopian fiction by a woman in the 17th century. Very important. It is as well as an example of what we now call proto-science fiction. This work, The Blazing World by Margaret Cavendish. Although it is also a romance, an adventure story, and even autobiography. So this work, most importantly, is the early forerunner of science fiction, written for the first time by a woman in the 17th century. All right, I hope you guys like that. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Ananya, will you please read this?
I, Robot is a fictive collection made up of science fiction short stories by which of these American writers? Is it Jules Verne or Isaac Asimov, H.G. Wells, or Robert A. Heinlein? So these are all famous American writers, and most of them are associated to science fiction. Now, I, Robot is a collection of short stories. So which of these writers do you think it is?
Okay, so they have started answering. Anitesh is saying it is Isaac Asimov. So let's check the answer. It is indeed Isaac Asimov who wrote I, Robot. It's a fix-up collection made up of science fiction short stories. So it's a collection of short stories. There is science fiction short stories by Isaac Asimov. So who is Isaac Asimov? He is an American writer and professor of biochemistry at Boston University. Asimov's most famous work is the Foundation series, the first three books of which won the one-time Hugo Award for Best All-Time Series in 1966. So please remember the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. His other major series are the Galactic Empire series and the Robot series. So what is this work, I, Robot, is about? So in this collection of short stories, the stories are woven together by a framing narrative in which the fictional Dr. Susan Calvin tells each story to a reporter. And this reporter is actually the narrator of this collection. In the 21st century, although the stories can be read separately, they share a theme of the interaction of the humans, robots, and morality. And when combined, they all tell a larger story of Asimov's fictional history of robotics. So this is what this collection of stories talk about. I, Robot. It's a collection of science fiction short stories by Isaac Asimov, one of the most important sci-fi writers from America. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Ananya, will you please read this?
The Invisible Man is a science fiction novel by which of these writers? Is it Arthur C. Clarke, Ray Bradbury, H.G. Wells, or Ralph Ellison? Uh, the novel's name is The Invisible Man, and be very specific, The Invisible Man, because this is a tricky one.
Okay. So guys, what do you think? Who wrote this science fiction novel? Okay, Anupriya is saying it is option C, H.G. Wells. Let's check out. It is indeed H.G. Wells who wrote this science fiction novel, The Invisible Man. So I think we more or less we all know about H.G. Wells. He was an English writer. Prolific in many genres, he wrote more than 50 novels and dozens of short stories. His non-fiction output included works of social commentary, politics, history, popular science, satire, biography, and autobiography. Wells's science fiction novels are so well regarded that he has been called the father of science fiction. Guys, please note, H.G. Wells has been called as the father of science fiction. His science fiction imagined time travel, alien invasion, invisibility, like in the novel The Invisible Man, and biological engineering before these subjects were common in the genre. So, which are his notable works? His most notable science fiction works include The Time Machine, which was his first novel, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Invisible Man, The War of the Worlds, the military science fiction, The War in the Air, and the dystopian work When the Sleeper Wakes. So please do look up the science fiction works of H.G. Wells. They're very important for any exam. All right?
There's another work called Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison,
Yes,
right?
that's what Ace English by Madhusudan sir just said, that Invisible Man. It's a work by Ralph Ellison, correct. Ananya, will you please read this?
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is a 1968 dystopian science fiction novel by which of the following American writers? Is it Arthur C. Clarke, Philip K. Dick, Ursula Le Guin, or Anthony Burgess? Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? This is the work's name.
So, guys, any idea who wrote this work? Do androids dream of electric sheep? It's a dystopian science fiction work by whom? Ananya, any guesses? Okay. It is
It's by,
Philip. Yes,
right, Philip K.
it is
Dick.
by Philip K. Dick. Okay, so let's look at the writer. So Philip K. Dick is an American science fiction writer. He wrote 44 novels and about 121 short stories, most of which appeared in science fiction magazines during his lifetime. He followed with science fiction novels such as Do Androids Dream of Electric Ship and Ubik. His 1974 novel, Flow My Tears, The Policeman Said, won the John W. Campbell Memorial Award for the Best Science Fiction Novel. Here, the concerned work, that is, Do Androids Dream of Electric Ship? This work is set in a post-apocalyptic San Francisco, where Earth's life has been greatly damaged by a nuclear global war, leaving most animal species endangered or extinct. The main plot follows Rick Deckard, a bounty hunter who has to retire. That is kill 6 escaped Nexus 6 model androids, while a secondary plot follows John Isidore, a man of subpar IQ who aids the fugitive androids. So almost a battle is happening between humans and the androids. This book served as the basis for the 1982 film Blade Runner. Okay, so this book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Ship? This book served as the basis for the 1982 movie Blade Runner. And even though some aspects of the novel were changed, many elements and themes from it were used in the film's 2017 sequel, Blade Runner 2049. Right. So I hope you guys are enjoying the discussion. Let's move on to the next question. So guys, please do look up the works of Philip K. Dick. He's a major American science fiction writer. Okay. Ananya, will you please read this?
Canopus in Argos Archives is a sequence of 5 science fiction novels by Nobel laureate author Dash. Is it Margaret Cavendish, A.S. Wyatt, Doris Lessing, or Angela Carter? The work's name, like the collection's name is Canopus and Argus Archives. This is a sequence of 5 science fiction novels, as we can see in the image, by one of these authors, who's also a Nobel laureate. I think it is Doris Lessing, and I can see it in the image also.
Yes,
Still a little bit
that's
of
a
cheating.
giveaway. Yes. Shabani is also saying it is Doris Lessing, so let's check out. It is indeed Doris Lessing who wrote Canopus in Argos Archives. It's a sequence of 5 science fiction novels. So I think we all know more or less about Lessing. So she was a British novelist. Her novels include The Grass is Singing, the sequence of 5 novels collectively called Children of Violence, The Golden Notebook, The Good Terrorist, and 5 novels collectively known as Canopus in Argos Archives. So Canopus in Argos Archives, it is a sequence of 5 science fiction novels by Nobel laureate author Doris Lessing. And this collection portrays a number of societies at different stages of development over a great period of time. Clear? The focus is on accelerated evolution guided by advanced species for less advanced species and societies. The novels all take place, so all these 5 novels take place in the same future history, but do not form a continuous storyline. Each book in this collection covers unrelated events, with the exception of Shikasta and the Syrian experiments, which tell the story of accelerated evolution on Earth through the eyes of Canopians and Syrians, respectively. So again, it's a very important series of science fiction novels by Lessing. Do look up these novels. All right. Next question. Ananya, will you please read this?
The Earth-Sea cycle, also known as Earth-Sea, is a series of high fantasy books written by the American author Dash. Is it Eleanor Arneson or Ursula K. Le Guin, Octavia E. Butler, or William Gibson? The Earth-Sea cycle, and it is also known as Earth-Sea, series of high fantasy books. The cover is really interesting.
Yes. So guys, what do you think? Who wrote this series of Earth Sea books? Any idea? Okay. Ananya, any idea?
Is it Ursula K. Le Guin?
Okay, let's check out. Yes, it is indeed Ursula K. Le Guin, who wrote the Earth Sea cycle, also known as Earth Sea. So it's a series of high fantasy novels. So let's now look at the writer. So Ursula K. Le Guin, she's an American author best known for her works of speculative fiction, including science fiction works set in her Hainish universe. So her science fiction works are set in Hainish universe and the Earth Sea fantasy series. So she is famous for these 2 things, remember. She was first published in 1959 and her literary career spanned nearly 60 years, producing more than 20 novels and over 100 short stories, in addition to poetry, literary criticism, translations, and children's books. Frequently described as an author of science fiction, Le Guin has also been called a major voice in American letters. Le Guin said she would prefer to be known as an American novelist. But please remember, she's mostly famous for her science fiction works set in her Hainish universe and for her Earthsea fantasy series. Do look up Ursula K. Guin. She's a major science fiction writer from America. Okay. Oh, okay. So we have exhausted our PPT again today. So I hope you guys like the session and enjoyed the discussion. I would encourage all of you to look up all the writers and works we have talked about. There are many more science fiction writers there, like William Gibson, Ray Bradbury. So please do look up their works as well. This session was just intended to be a brief introduction to some major writers out there whose works we have already known, maybe or maybe not. So please do look up their works, read more about them, and let's get to know about the issues they deal with and why. And so I hope you guys like the session. If yes, then please do press the like button and share with your friends. So Ananya, did you like the session?
I loved it. Really interesting plots, and I'll definitely check them out that you have discussed.
Okay. All right. So guys, so we can wrap up for today. And we will again be back on next Thursday with another session on current updates. So stay tuned, and we will be back again tomorrow at 9 p.m. with another practice set of another set. So please stay with us every day at 9. And for tonight, let's wrap up and good night. Take care. I'm ending the session. Bye.
Good night.